Hello, my name is Rachel Varan, and I'll be discussing my final project. I will first discuss ICD. ICD stands for International Classification of Diseases. ICD is preserved by the World Health Organization, or WHO for short. There are many purposes of ICD coding, such as creating diagnostic codes that organizes injuries, ailments, diseases, symptoms, findings from other studies, and more. ICD coding can also aid healthcare workers in making decisions. ICD codes become more important if a patient is having a long-term ailment rather than a short-term ailment. A long-term ailment, such as diabetes, will shadow a patient, and that ICD code will constantly pop up during their long-term treatment plan. However, an ICD code for an insect bite will not affect long-term care, so the ICD code from the insect bite is not as important. ICD codes can be used in numerous ways. The CDC, or the Center for Disease Control, uses ICD coding in order to provide a code for a patient's cause of death. The American Psychiatric Association uses ICD coding to organize mental health disorders such as depression, schizophrenia, multiple personality disorders, and more. ICD codes are used internationally and are provided worldwide. An ICD code in one country should be the same in another country. For example, the code for heartburn in the United States should be the same code in Canada. If I go to see my primary care doctor and he says I have IBS, and then I happen to go on a vacation and have to visit a doctor there for my IBS symptoms, he should say that I have the same ICD code as my primary care doctor. And below in the chart is just more examples of ICD codes from the current ICD-10 code system and then from the previous ICD-9 coding system. Another coding system is LOINC, or LINC, which stands for Logical Observation Identifiers. This coding system was produced in 1994, but the first release was on April 24, 1995. The purpose of LOINC coding is interoperability. It is used to exchange data between other healthcare facilities electronically. Since data is exchanged electronically, it can be compared to previous data and even current data. LOINC codes are specifically used in lab settings. It codes the lab test, specimen, lab results, and more. One major benefit is that LOINC codes can reduce the need for extra, unnecessary lab tests, which leads to a reduced cost and better quality of care because it reduces the stress of the patient. This is my use case diagram. I included 5 actors to perform task on the computer. The patient is the first actor, who books an appointment with the family doctor on a web-based application. Once at the family doctor is the second actor. He orders a chest X-ray and blood work. This case extends back to the patient. After this, he recommends an appointment with a pulmonologist. So he is the third actor. The family doctor's secretary books an appointment for the patient, which extends back to the patient. The patient goes to the pulmonology office So it is a use arrow. He then meets the fourth actor, the receptionist at the pulmonologist's office, who confirms his identity and his appointment. The pulmonologist is the fifth actor. He then pulls up the patient's H&P, chest X-ray, and blood work summary, which is all done on a computer system, and it extends back to the patient. He then orders a scratch test and allergy test that then extends back to the patient. Next is my UML sequence. It starts off with three diagrams: the patient, the family doctor. The patient sends a message by booking an appointment with the family doctor, and he then explains the symptoms. The family doctor responds by ordering tests. He further reports the information while booking the pulmonologist. The family doctor then asks to see if the receptionist. The receptionist responds by confirming the patient's identity. The patient then relays his symptoms to the pulmonologist, who responds by looking at the records to see if he has any knowledge of the condition. He then pulls up the chest X-ray and blood work and orders additional reports, which all goes back to the patient. My last UML diagram is a class diagram. There are three classes with one interface, the receptionist. The three classes are the patient, the family doctor, and the pulmonologist. Each class has their own responsibility attached to it. As you can see, the patient is responsible for things such as creating his appointment, consulting the doctor, answering the questions from the doctor, and describing his conditions to the doctors. Both doctors are generally responsible for checking the patient's symptoms and ordering tests and follow-ups for clarification. The family doctor is responsible for the checkup. He ordered the chest X-ray, he ordered the blood work, and he made a recommendation to the pulmonologist. The pulmonologist was responsible for pulling the patient's history and physical, checking his chronic breathing, pulled the X-ray results, looked at the blood results, ordered a scratch test and an allergy test. The receptionist was the interface, and she was responsible for patient registration, for booking appointments, confirming the identity, and confirming the appointments as well. And these are just a few of the references that I used for my presentation. Thanks so much.